Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive where we're going to dig into Atomic Habits. It's like the book on self-improvement, right? But it's also so much more than that. You know what I mean? It's not just about becoming this perfect version of yourself. It's about getting better at anything, work, relationships, you name it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what I find so fascinating about it is how it takes this really complex thing, like how habits actually work, and makes it something anyone can use. It's not about willpower or anything like that. It's more about understanding those systems in our behavior.
Yeah, for sure. And Clear, the author, he starts with this crazy story.
Hmm.
Like, seriously crazy. He got hit in the face with a baseball bat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, multiple fractures, had to relearn, everything, even walking straight. Talk about a wake-up call, right?
That's intense. I mean, to have to start over like that?
Right. And that actually kind of leads into the whole point of the book. He used those tiny improvements, those baby steps, to recover. And then later on, to build his whole business and write the book.
It's proof that it works, right?
Mhm.
That whole idea of small changes adding up.
Exactly. But then he hits us with this other concept, lagging measures. It's kind of mind-blowing. It's like the results we're seeing now, they're not from what we did today, but from choices we made weeks, months, even years ago.
It's like you're always living in the consequences of your past habits, whether you realize it or not,
Yeah.
which is actually kind of empowering when you think about it.
Totally. Because it means we have more control than we think. We just need to be playing the long game.
Exactly. You're not just seeing the results of what you did today, but the choices you made weeks, months, even years ago. It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Right? One bite at a time. And that's the thing about habits. They're those small, seemingly insignificant actions that we repeat day after day.
And we don't always see the impact right away. He uses this great analogy of the ice cube. You could be heating it up, but it's still an ice cube, right? But then, boom, 32 degrees, it melts.
And that's the thing with our efforts, too. They often seem invisible until we hit that breakthrough point. And that's why I think it's so crucial for anyone listening to really grasp that concept of lagging measures.
Yeah. It's like you were saying before, it teaches us to be patient and to keep going, even when we feel like we're not making progress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trust the process. Those tiny changes, they're compounding over time. You might not see them now, but you will.
Okay, so we're working on our habits, we're being patient, but then Clear throws this curveball. He's like, focusing too much on goals might actually be holding us back.
It's funny how counterintuitive that sounds, right? Like, aren't goals supposed to be a good thing?
Right. But his point is, when we're always chasing some future version of ourselves, we forget to appreciate who we are right now.
It's about finding that balance, right? Between striving for more and appreciating where you're at.
For sure. So how do we find that balance? Well, Clear says real, lasting change is about identity. It's about deciding who you want to be and letting your habits reflect that.
So instead of saying, I want to lose weight, you would say,
I'm the kind of person who prioritizes their health.
exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your desired identity. You want to be a writer, you write. If you want to be a musician, you play music.
You show up as that person day after day, habit by habit. It's like you're casting votes for the type of person you want to be.
I love that. It's a really powerful way to think about it.
Okay, so that's all well and good, but how do we actually change our habits? Well, he breaks down this whole science behind it, this habit loop, basically. Cue, craving, response, reward.
And it's not just about going through those motions. It's about understanding how they work together
Mm.
and how we can use that to our advantage.
So it's like we're hacking our brains to build better habits.
Exactly.
But then Clear throws in this curveball, right? He's like, environment matters even more than motivation. Like, whoa, seriously. It's like our willpower is battling our surroundings 24/7.
It's not really a battle, though. It's more about seeing how they work together.
Yeah.
Like, say you're trying to eat healthy, but your kitchen counter is like snack central.
Yeah.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm a sucker for a good snack display.
Right. But imagine if you put healthy stuff front and center, make it easy to grab. Suddenly, those good choices, they're not such a struggle.
It's like you're designing your life to support those good habits instead of sabotage them.
Exactly. And this totally ties into another big idea from the book, habit stacking. Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah, habit stacking, I've dabbled. It's like
Yeah.
piggybacking a new habit onto one you already do.
You got it. So instead of trying to create this whole new routine out of thin air, you're using the momentum of something you already do consistently.
Like after I brush my teeth, I'll meditate for 2 minutes. Something like that.
Exactly. You're already wired to brush your teeth, so adding something on top of that, it just takes less mental effort.
It's like tricking your brain into building that new pathway.
Totally. So think about something you already do without fail every single day.
Okay, got it.
Now, what's a new habit you'd like to build? And how can you link those two actions together?
Ooh, I like this. Okay, confession time. I am the queen of distraction. Like, seriously. Easily distracted. It's a problem.
Oh, you and me both. Our brains are like those web browsers with a million tabs open.
Exactly. But Clear says we can use those distractions to actually get better at focusing, which honestly sounds impossible.
It's not about eliminating distractions altogether, though.
Right.
It's about what you do when those distractions inevitably pop up.
So how do we do that? How do we not get totally derailed?
It's all about mindfulness, right? Noticing when your mind wanders. Maybe it's to that text message, that kitschy song, whatever. It's like doing a bicep curl for your brain.
A brain bicep curl. I like it.
You're training yourself to gently guide your attention back to the present moment. And just like with exercise, the more you do it, the stronger you get.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about when things get tough? Because let's be real, staying consistent is hard, especially when a habit gets boring or feels impossible.
Oh, 100%. Remember the Goldilocks zone we talked about? Too easy and it's boring, too hard and we get discouraged. The key is finding that just right level of challenge, like a good workout. It should push you, but not make you want to quit.
So how do we find that sweet spot? Is it trial and error, or is there like a secret formula?
Well, if there's a secret formula, I haven't found it yet.
Uh-huh.
But Clear does have this great strategy, the 2-minute rule.
The 2-minute rule. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's crazy simple, but it works. Basically, when you're starting a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do.
2 minutes. Seriously, that seems almost too easy.
That's the point. You're tricking your brain into taking action, which, let's be honest, is usually the hardest part.
And once you've started, it's easier to keep going, right? Like that whole objects in motion thing.
Exactly. So instead of write a chapter of my book, your habit becomes open my laptop and write one sentence.
Right.
Ridiculously easy, right?
Okay, I love that. It takes the pressure off. Speaking of pressure, how do you stay motivated when the results just feel so far away?
That's where that whole lagging measures concept comes back in, right? It's easy to get discouraged when we don't see those immediate results.
It's like, I've been working so hard, where's my trophy?
Right. But what if we thought about those efforts as investments in our future selves?
I like that. Investing in the future.
Every healthy choice, every workout, every page written, it's a deposit in the bank account of your future self.
It's like delayed gratification, but on a whole new level, we're playing the long game.
And the cool thing is, our brains are actually wired to seek out those rewards, even if they're delayed.
Yeah.
That's why we save for retirement, study for exams, all that stuff.
It's like we understand it intellectually, but then emotionally we're like, but I want it NW.
And that's why it's so important to find ways to make those habits more enjoyable in the present moment. Remember that habit loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. That reward piece is key.
So we need to make our habits feel good. Like, are we talking bubble baths after the gym and celebratory donuts after, right? Kidding. But seriously, what does that look like?
It doesn't have to be fancy. Even small rewards work. Like say you're trying to read more. Instead of forcing yourself to read some boring textbook, pick a genre you actually enjoy.
Make it a treat, not a chore.
Exactly. Light a candle, make some tea, create that cozy reading nook. You're not just reading, you're creating a ritual that feels good. And your brain's like, oh, I like this. Let's do this again.
I am so here for that. It's like you're gamifying your habits, making them something you look forward to, not dread.
Exactly. The more you enjoy the process, the more likely you are to stick with it.
So we've hacked our environment. We're stacking habits like pros, even making it fun. But there's still this one thing, right? That idea of changing who we believe we are at our core. It's like, how do we actually do that?
It's not about this like overnight transformation.
Yeah.
It's more about consistency, aligning your actions with who you want to be day after day.
So every time we lace up those running shoes, even if it's just to walk around the block, we're basically telling our brains, this is who I am now.
Exactly. You're casting votes for that identity one step at a time. And those votes, they add up.
I'm into it. But let's talk about those moments when, like, even with the best intentions, we fall off track. Life happens, right? Distractions are everywhere.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like our brains are wired to get sidetracked. But here's the thing. Clear says we can actually use those distractions to our advantage.
Wait, what? How do we do that?
It's all about mindfulness. Noticing when your mind starts to wander, instead of beating yourself up about it, just gently guide your attention back to the task at hand.
So it's like a mental reset button.
Exactly. And each time you do that, you're strengthening that focus muscle. Just like with any workout, the more you do it, the stronger you get.
Love that analogy. But what about those deeper struggles, like when you're hit with self-doubt or just feel like giving up?
Those are real struggles,
Yeah.
and we all experience them. But remember those lagging measures we talked about? It's the same idea.
Mhm.
You might not see those results right away, but every time you choose to show up, even when it's hard, you're making a deposit in that future version of yourself.
So even when it feels like we're not making progress, we actually are.
Exactly. And another thing Clear talks about is, oh, what's it called? Variable rewards.
Right.
It's like this. Our brains love novelty, right? We get more excited about a surprise gift than one we expected.
Oh, 100%. But how does that apply to like sticking to a workout routine or a writing schedule?
It's about finding those little ways to inject surprise and delight into those habits. Maybe you try a new workout class, listen to a different playlist while you work, something to keep it fresh and engaging.
So it's like we're tricking our brains into wanting to do those things.
In a way, yeah. You're creating positive associations, making it something you look forward to, and the more you enjoy it, the more likely you are to stick with it.
This has been amazing. So as we wrap up our deep dive into atomic habits, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I'd say this. Building better habits, creating real change. It's not about being perfect. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about those small, consistent actions, those tiny steps that add up to something incredible over time.
I love that. Small steps, big impact. And on that note, I want to thank our amazing expert for joining us today and for sharing all these incredible insights. And to our listeners, thank you for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.